Alright everybody, this video will be the death of atheist arguments everywhere.
That's a pretty big claim. Surely you don't think that atheists everywhere are going to be watching your video, right? I mean, I am, but that's just so that, others don't have to.
So, as you know, what we do here is we're going to be taking this motorcycle and we're going to be debunking the top atheist arguments out there. Now, there's different type of people that are going to watch this video. Let's see which type of person you are. There's one type that is a Christian, and they believe that this motorcycle is a product of intelligent design. Now, for my atheist viewers, you probably believe that this motorcycle just popped into existence uncaused out of nothing. But for the more intelligent viewers, I'm sure you agree with me that this is a product of intelligent design.
I'm sure most people would agree that the motorcycle was designed. We can agree on that because of things like evidence of manufacturing, little stickers that say made in China, etc. We can also agree on this because motorcycle parts on their own are inert and aren't going to spontaneously start forming structures, work towards self-replication, gradually change over time with each successive self-replication. Kind of the exact opposite of what we see in living systems.
Just as much as the universe is a product of intelligent design, the motorcycle couldn't create itself. Something outside the motorcycle had to create it. The universe can't create itself. Something outside the universe had to create it. And let's talk about what we're going to talk about today, shall we? So we're going to be debunking the following atheist.
So now he goes on to name George Carlin, Christopher Hitchens, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, Ricky Gervais, Lawrence Klaus, and Michael Shermer. I'm telling you this because he takes more time insulting them than actually naming them.
You guys can multitask, right?
Yeah, I can multitask.
I have the most intelligent subscribers.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you see me, an atheist, as highly intelligent.
So you guys can multitask. We're also going to be merging this with the how to ride a motorcycle video.
Okay, those are kind of completely unrelated topics, but your video, I'll go with it.
Sounds like fun, huh?
So, spoiler alert, it takes him about 5 minutes to actually start driving, much less start debunking the arguments that he's talking about.
This video I'm debunking the video Best Atheist Arguments. Really? This is pathetic. Carlin says, and let's get on the freeway, he says in the BS department, religion has convinced man, and I've talked to people about this, and nobody I talk to agrees with what George Carlin said.
Are all the people you've talked to Christians like you? That might be why they all agree with you.
George Carlin said that religion has convinced people that there's an invisible man in the sky. Now, I'm a Christian. I hang out with Christians. I have lots of Christian friends. And I've asked them, do you believe there's an invisible man in the sky? And none of them believe that.
So clearly Carlin is making a joke here. Carlin is a comedian, after all. That's the reason that, for the most part, I don't like a lot of Carlin's arguments, because they are mostly jokes. They are made for the purpose of comedy. That being said, the Bible has stated that heaven is clearly in the sky. Genesis 1, 6 through 8, for example, says, And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven.
And as I tap my finger to my formerly Bible-speaking mouth, nowhere in the Bible does it talk about God being an invisible man in the sky.
It's called called extrapolation. Just because the Bible doesn't literally say, God is an invisible man in the sky, doesn't mean that that's not what you're supposed to interpret out of it. It's funny how the Bible is only literal when it benefits Christians.
He messes up. Evidently, George Carlin has not read the Bible, because he messes up and he says, and this invisible man, that's how he talks, has a list of 10 things you cannot do, which is error number 1 we're going to talk to you about. And he goes, and if you do any of those things, he's going to send you to a place of fire, smoke, hell, and brimstone, which is not really true. I'm going to talk to you about this.
I don't know, that seems pretty accurate based on biblical testimony. I'm guessing since you never returned to this point later on that you either forgot, you expected people not to know, or not to care.
The invisible man, that's error number 1, living in the sky, that's error number 2, has a list of 10 things that you cannot do, and that's error number 3. The 10 Commandments, why did George Carlin read them before he did his stupid stand-up routine? Honor your mother and father is not something God doesn't want you to do. It's something that God wants you to do. It's in the positive.
Holy shit, you're really about to go after a comedian for a stand-up bit in which he got his syntax wrong?
Keep the Sabbath day holy is not something that God doesn't want you to do. It's something that God wants you to do.
Just by tweaking the words of the 10 Commandments, we can easily turn them into negative statements. Don't be a dick to your parents. Don't work on Sunday. That, coupled with the fact that 7 out of the 10 Commandments are negative statements anyway.
Back to debunking George Carlin, okay? He says, and if you break any one of those commandments, that you go to hell. This is not true.
I agree. It's not true. It's hyperbolic. Because he is a comedian.
I feel bad, but it's too late for him. And unfortunately, it's also too late for the next guy, Christopher Hitchens. I really like Christopher Hitchens' personality. He goes, what makes more sense? That God created the universe, or that we're lucky that we just happen to be in this universe, and it's all, he says, by chance. Go to my website at shockonow.com and click the button that's, it's like a link. Click it, it says 20 arguments for the existence of God. And one of the best arguments for the existence of God is called the teleological argument.
The teleological argument states that everything has a purpose to being. Aristotle once famously said that the teleological purpose for an acorn is to become an oak tree. It's pretty appealing to say that everything has a purpose, but that's all it is. Appealing. The only time that an acorn would be meant to turn into an oak tree is if an acorn was specifically designed to become an oak tree. And Shock, I know that you think that acorns were, but evolutionary biology begs to disagree with you. In the universe, there are very few things that actually have to exist. Gravity, subatomic particles, the flow of time, just to name a few. But acorns don't have to exist. Organic molecules arranged themselves into acorns based off of the way other organic molecules around them arranged themselves. That's really all it is.
But back to Christopher Hitchens.
Oh good, sorry, I got off track here.
He's saying that it all has to do with luck and chance. But actually, if we were here on planet Earth, all just by luck and chance, we would see life like ours also scattered throughout the universe. Stick with me here.
Whoa. I always hear creationists saying that we couldn't be here just by sheer luck because the odds of abiogenesis are so ludicrously high that it couldn't have possibly happened on its own. Now, this reasoning is pretty dumb in a near-infinite universe and a surely infinite multiverse. You're saying the opposite, that we are seeing too little life in the universe to justify us being here just by sheer chance.
If I got 100 pennies, like a roll of pennies,
okay,
and I went into your kitchen,
yeah,
and we threw them on the floor,
Dude, what the fuck? I just polished this floor.
they'd be scattered around in different direction, right?
Yeah, they're fucking everywhere. You're gonna be cleaning this up.
But let's say I told you, hey, I want to show you something. Go in the back, go around the hallway here, and then when I call you, come back.
Fine, but I don't see where you're going with this.
And then all of a sudden you heard me throw all these pennies, and you're like, can I come back in the kitchen yet? And I'm like, no, not yet. And then finally I tell you, okay, come back in the kitchen. Clean the lens here in case any bugs are hidden. And you come back in the kitchen, there's all the pennies stacked up on top of each other. Watch this.
Hey, that's pretty cool. You cleaned those up really fast. Nice little stack you got there, but what are you trying to prove with this? That you can stack pennies really fast?
Front brake while downshifting. Also, I'm doing rear brake.
Oh, rear brake.
The fact that we see life only here in the universe and all the stars and planets are all scattered out and there's no life on those planets is evidence that some intelligence actually focused life right here.
Well, you can't really blame us for not having found any life elsewhere in the universe yet, seeing as we haven't even reached the edge of our own solar system. Voyager 1 has gone farther than anything else ever created by man, and it still has 300 years before it even reaches the Oort cloud. 30,000 years before it actually exits our solar system.
On this planet, we don't see life scattered out. Just like the kitchen analogy, it's fine-tuned here.
Oh no, that's because your analogy is completely inapplicable. Number one, your kitchen is completely out of proportion with the actual size of the universe. Let's make the testing area into a more reasonably sized space, say the entire surface area of all of North America. That being said, even pennies would be too big to represent planets. What we would need is something so small that it wouldn't even be perceivable with a light microscope. But pennies, I still think, get the point across well enough, so let's continue on. Number two, you make the mistake of assuming that all area in the entire universe is equally habitable to life, equally likely to support life, which it's not. About 99.99999 continuing percent of the total area in the universe is just empty space. It's basically a vacuum. Nothing organic could thrive in it. So let's assume that in our scale model of all of North America, that 99.999 continuing percent of all the land that a penny could land on is a null zone. If a penny lands there, it means nothing. It's just a dead planet. Number two, most of the planets out there, even when there is a planet, is still not habitable for life for various reasons ranging from how close it is to the sun, to the state of the core. Is it molten or not? Does it have a proper magnetic field? What is the atmosphere comprised of? How much water is there? There are tons of different factors that go into this. So you'd be hard-pressed to find any planets out there that are even remotely habitable. That doesn't mean that they're not out there, it just means that you're going to have a hard time finding them. Now let's say that you fly over all of North America continually for weeks, months, however long it takes, dumping thousands upon millions upon trillions of pennies out of your plane every single time you fly over. Now, most of the pennies are going to land in the uninhabitable null zone, but eventually you're going to get multiple pennies that land in that infinitesimally small area that is actually habitable. So you saying that we don't see any life elsewhere in the universe, well, to that I just say, no shit. It's like you standing in your kitchen with a penny and saying, this is the only penny in all of North America. Because I don't see any other pennies in my kitchen.
Now, the atheists want us to believe that we're here by luck and chance. And when you say, well, give me your argument for that, wouldn't we see life all over the universe if life was just here by luck and chance?
Yeah, we would, but we still can only observe such a tiny amount of the universe that we just haven't found it yet.
They really don't have an answer for that.
Wait, but I just gave you an answer.
If there was a massive explosion just by luck and chance, and life shot out of it by luck and chance, why only here on Earth?
If life formed literally anywhere else in the universe, those people in their isolation on their planet would still be saying, man, we're the only things in the universe.
It'd be scattered all over the place. But alas, you don't see that. We see life focused and fine-tuned like a laser right here.
No, we don't see fine-tuning at all. Pretty much anywhere in the world. At least not fine-tuning for life. I mean, if God did create everything, he was a pretty shitty engineer. I mean, whales, fully aquatic animals that can only breathe air, that's pretty fucked.
So Sam Harris is weird. He's absolutely weird. He's the guy that looks like Ben Stiller.
Pretty ballsy for a guy that doesn't even show his face in his videos.
That God is particularly interested, he says, with what we do when we're naked. Now, doesn't Sam Harris have a Bible? I've read scripture, and that is not even on God's top 50 list.
If it's so low on God's to-do list, why are there Christians, like you, always getting up in arms about things like gay marriage, premarital sex, and masturbating? In fact, I would say that a good 1/2 of all the biblical laws given to us have to do with eating and sex.
No, Sam, you pervert. And you know what's interesting? Every one of these atheists promoted and defended the sin of homosexuality in their videos. If anyone's interested in what people are doing when they're naked, it's atheists.
I think what Sam was saying is that comparatively, God gives more fucks about what people are doing in their bedrooms than a normal human being would. Which is true in most cases. I don't give a fuck what people do in their bedroom.
They're obsessed with the LBGT, bacon, lettuce, tomato community, whatever you call it. They're obsessed with it.
So atheists are obsessed with what people are doing with their bodies by advocating that it's no one's business what people do with their bodies.
They're absolutely obsessed with it. So, no, Sam, you're the one that's obsessed with it, Mr. Stiller.
I just want to point out that you didn't actually debunk a claim about God or any atheist argument. You just took a joke that someone said and said, hey, I don't think that's funny.
Richard Dawkins says, let's see what his little doodad is. Oh, yeah. He says that people believe in God without evidence.
He probably says that because it's true.
Well, I used to be an atheist, and I left atheism because the lack of evidence.
Lack of evidence for what exactly? Lack of evidence for rejecting your claim? I don't need evidence for rejecting your claim.
Now, you guys, when you look below this video, you'll see me challenging atheists all over the world to provide some proof and evidence that atheism is true, that it's accurate, that it's correct.
Atheism can't be true because atheism isn't an affirmative stance. You guys say something exists, and when you fail to produce any evidence for it, we reject it. It's that simple.
Do you know John Lennox? I'm going to put John Lennox's video below here. He said he too became a Christian because of the evidence.
So a guy says that he became a Christian because of the evidence. That doesn't mean anything unless you can reproduce the evidence to us.
So, for example, when I get on this motorcycle, I have faith that it's going to start up.
Faith based on past experience of that motorcycle turning on. That's also a testable claim. Once you turn the key, your hypothesis that it will turn on is either affirmed or rejected. Neither of those things apply to God, because you cannot have past experiences with something that you literally cannot detect by any means known to man. And it's also not testable because there's nothing that can detect it known to man.
I don't have blind faith that it's going to start up. I have faith because I have the fuel in there, I have the battery, I have the starter. You know what I mean?
But your faith in God is blind because it is an unobservable, untestable thing.
I don't have blind faith.
Yes, you do.
You know, I challenged Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, the Atheist Experience Show. I challenge them to provide some type of proof and evidence that atheism is accurate and correct. Please, if you're an atheist, would you answer that question? No one's been able to do it.
Probably because it is a question that in of itself does not make sense. It's like asking why blue is heavy. Blue isn't heavy, but blue is also not heavy. The term heavy doesn't apply to the color blue in the same way that right or wrong doesn't apply to a withheld belief.
They will not answer it. They will ask a question. They will try to answer the question with a question. They will divert. They will do the atheist dodge. So, people are Christians because of the evidence.
Really? Because I grew up in a Catholic home. I went to a series of 3 different Catholic schools, and every single time I asked someone what their evidence was for God, their response was, "Oh, I have faith."
But they all say that absence of evidence is proof that there is evidence of absence.
That's true. If there is no evidence for something, then there is no reason to believe in that something. For example, there might be a magical elf living in a tea kettle orbiting around the sun right now. I don't have any evidence for that claim, but it might be true. You probably don't believe me, do you?
Let's say I have a cell phone in this bag in front of me. I don't have any evidence to show you.
Well, sure you do. You could just open the bag and show me the cell phone.
I can't show it to you. I'm riding right now, picking up speed. But just because I don't have evidence to show you that my cell phone's in this bag doesn't mean that it's not in the bag. It really could be in there. It is in there.
Well, sure, it might be in the bag. I don't know that it's in the bag, but it might be. It might be in your jacket or in your pants pocket. It is in the realm of possibility that it could be in any one of those things. Now, because this is a trivial example that really has no bearing on my life, I'm probably going to take your word for it that your cell phone is in fact in that bag. But if you bring up something like God trying to tell me how to live my life and telling me that I am inherently sinful, then you're going to have to offer me some more solid evidence than, well, he might be there.
So it is error to say that absence of evidence is evidence of absence. That cell phone could be in there.
Yeah, but I have no way of knowing that for absolute sure.
And in fact, it is in there. But this is an error that atheists make. They say if I don't have evidence that something's there, therefore it's not there.
You have evidence that you have a cell phone in your bag. If you slowed down to a safe enough speed at which you could open your bag, you could show me the cell phone within. If you told me that God was in your bag and I said, I don't believe you, you would probably open your bag. And if God was in there, I would really have no choice other than to believe you.
That is not a logical, rational way to think. The way you should think is, yes, the cell phone could be there, but it also might not be there.
Which is exactly how atheists think. Well, the smart ones anyway. There are some dumb atheists who just are in it to look cool. But any atheist worth his salt thinks that way. At least I do.
And the fact that atheists are so confident in saying God doesn't exist, no atheist can say that.
We cannot say that a God doesn't exist. Now, the Christian God's another thing. The Christian God, we can pretty safely say, does not exist because the accounts of the Christian God in the Bible are logically and scientifically inconsistent with reality. Now, an unknowable deistic God that created the universe and then took a hands-off approach to parenting, that's a different story. But it's not Yahweh.
Because remember we talked about how something outside the universe had to have created the universe?
Well, not necessarily true, but that's a topic for a different video.
We haven't even seen 100% of the universe. We haven't even seen the majority of what's in the universe.
Exactly, but earlier you said that we should be seeing life everywhere in the universe, so which is it? Do we have a big enough scope that we can safely say there's no life elsewhere in the universe, or is our scope so limited that we cannot conclusively say that there isn't a God? By the way, there is only one correct answer, and I, along with everyone else listening, already knows what it is.
So how can the atheists say they know God doesn't exist when they haven't looked everywhere? They haven't seen heaven, they haven't seen the spiritual realm, they haven't seen the entire universe, they haven't even seen beyond the universe.
Firstly, you say hasn't even looked outside the universe like it's some simple, easy thing to do, like you just wake up on Saturday and you're like, man, I want to take a visit outside the universe, let's go do that. Secondly, isn't God supposed to be omnipresent, meaning everywhere at once? Meaning we theoretically shouldn't even have to look that far to find him? And we haven't?
I have no evidence that there's horses on the right side of the road here.
Then I have no reason to believe you.
Okay? I can't show it to you because we're not there. But there are horses on the right side of the road. I see them there all the time back here.
Then show us.
Behind here. But just because I don't have any evidence to show people that there's horses on the side of the road, over there in the thing, which I see them back there, just because I don't have evidence of it, you can't say, well, the horses aren't there then.
No, but I can say I don't believe you, which is all an atheist is saying.
That's irrational. Here's another word. It's stupid. It's idiotic.
I can fit 3 apples in my mouth and still be able to sing the national anthem. What? You don't believe me? How dare you? What? Well, no, I don't have any evidence that I can do this. I didn't, record myself doing it. But I shouldn't have to show you for you to believe me. Yeah, I know that there are 3 apples right there in a CD player with the national anthem already loaded in, but I'm still not going to show you, because I shouldn't have to show you such a ridiculous claim for you to be able to believe me. You're just stupid. It's just idiotic for you to not believe me. You are just clearly a stupid person.
Ricky Gervais says, well, why would I want to worship a God that doesn't approve of homosexuality?
But that's a good point. Aside from the threat of being smote, what inclines a person to worship a God that they feel is not a good person?
Really, Ricky? If you go to Ricky Gervais' house, I guarantee you he's watching the Ellen Show.
Maybe. It's a pretty popular show.
I guarantee you Ricky Gervais has every DVD of the series Glee.
I mean, yeah, it's possible. It's another really popular show. You would have to show me some evidence for me to believe you, though.
In his DVD collection. I guarantee you, if you turned on Ricky Gervais' CD in his car, you'd hear, in the Navy, you could sail the 7 seas in the Navy. I mean, come on, Ricky. Oh, Ricky, you're so blind, it blows my mind. Hey, Ricky. Ricky is blind.
In the span of 10 seconds, I heard you sing 2 songs and they were both horrible. You understand that calling someone blind and insulting their taste in TV isn't debunking them, right?
Lawrence Krauss, the Woody Allen. The Woody Allen of atheists. Lawrence Krauss is hilarious. There's been over 1,000 gods. He doesn't mean real gods, he means false gods.
Obviously he means false gods because he is an atheist. He doesn't believe in any gods in the same way that you believe in one out of thousands of false gods. Just like people of other religions believe in one out of thousands of false gods.
There's been over 1,000 gods, so what makes you think that your God is correct? Oh, Lawrence. Lawrence, someone send this to Lawrence Krauss, the Woody Allen of atheism. Lawrence, if I asked every subscriber and everyone watching this video to answer this question, and they all had to answer it within 30 seconds without a calculator. Here's the question. What is 687 multiplied times 1,212? And you couldn't use a calculator. Lawrence, isn't it true that we'd get lots of wrong answers?
Yeah, but that doesn't prove that your answer is the correct answer. That just proves that your answer is a part of many different possibilities that might be right or wrong. You have done nothing to give any evidence that your guess is the correct guess. All you've said is that, I'm a part of a pretty big group, and one of us has to be right. Number one, no. At most, one of you is correct. At least 0 of you are correct. That's still a possibility.
Just because we get lots of wrong answers to the question does not mean there's not one right answer out there.
Yeah, and that one answer might be something that humans haven't even discovered yet. Once again, your argument boils down to I have blind faith that my guess is the correct guess.
Yahweh is the right answer.
Prove it.
And I agree, all the other false gods are the wrong answer. But just because we have wrong answers, Lawrence, I can't believe you're a scientist. Have you been sniffing the chemicals in the lab too much? Just because you're a scientist, Lawrence, does not make you intelligent.
It kinda does. They don't just give doctorates out to anyone.
Any more than a donut in a donut shop makes the donut intelligent. It's just still a donut.
But a donut in a donut shop is probably gonna be sweet, as it is intended to be. Just like a scientist in a laboratory is probably going to be smart, just like they're intended to be. You know, you have a real knack for absolutely atrocious analogies.
Did I tell you that one time I was riding over here and there were these, it was a short people convention, but you know, they were midgets. And I stopped by and I talked to them and I said, what are you guys picketing about? And they want to start a movement to be called short people, not midgets. I said, well, Rich, what if we called you like a bad name, like it's like the N-word? See, when you call, that's what they told me. They said, when you call a short person, you know, midget, it's like you're calling them the N-word. So I turned to the little short guy and I said, midget, please, midget, please. I don't believe that.
Rich is a dick to midgets.
Oh, Michael Shermer said the same thing, actually, so we don't have to shoot it. He said, what is the probability? What is the probability that Yahweh is the true God? It's 100%.
Oh, so you can prove that.
If Yahweh is the true God.
So if God exists, the probability of him existing is 100%. Well, obviously, if something exists, its chance of existing is 100%. The issue is you still haven't proven that he exists. You're working on a presupposition that hasn't been confirmed yet.
Michael Shermer, please. Shermer, please. But atheists are like midgets. Little arguments, little minds, and the sad thing, very little time. Time to repent, my atheist friends. Anyways, God bless you guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great week.
You too. See you later, buddy. Well, that was absolutely atrocious. As you might have guessed, I'm a little bit new to this scene on YouTube, and I would love your support. If you liked the content, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel so that I'll know to keep putting out great content like this. I will see you guys later.